Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new podcast here on Arsenal Aura. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're having a great time wherever you are. My name is Michael, and I'm here to talk about Arsenal. Welcome back, everybody, to a new episode of the podcast. As always, Joe is in the building. Hi, and happy Friday, Joe. How is it going?
Happy Friday. It's going good. It's really, really warm here. It's like 26, 27 degrees in London, which is pretty surprising, honestly. But yeah, having a good day. How about you?
Yeah, that's always good. I've always heard that, when it's sunny in London, you have to take advantage as much as you can. Here it's a little bit cooler. I think it's around 20 degrees, but yeah, it's all good. It's all good. Sun is out, and I think I can smell the summer here in Romania. Just wanted to ask you, how has your week been after Arsenal's games with PSG?
Yeah, I mean, I came away from the match and was immediately incredibly disappointed, as I'm sure most people were. But then the longer time has progressed, I've been thinking about it, and honestly, I'm actually not that worried now. I kind of think that we should go through. I am fairly confident we go through. If you look at the stats after the game, Arteta coached a 2-0 win, right? The Dembele goal was partly because Thomas Partey wasn't on the pitch. He would have stopped that from happening in the first place. And partly fairly lucky, low XG chance that just happened to go in. It had to be perfect to go in, and it was absolutely perfect, that shot. And then, we obviously have Martinelli and Trossard not taking their chances. Merino goal ruled out. We had the better quality of chances. I know there were a couple towards the end from PSG, but they were offside, right? So, I forget who it was, hit the crossbar, and then there was another one from Barcola, I think it was, that went just wide of the post, but both of those players were offside when they're in those positions anyway. So I think with Partey back, and having Merino actually be able to play up front, and having Saka a week further into his recovery, Martinelli hopefully playing a little bit better than he did, so maybe wanting to make up for some of the mistakes he made, I can see us going there and winning 2-0, 3-0. I don't see it as a massive problem. What about yourself?
Yeah, I'm really happy to hear that from you. I really like your optimism. I can relate to that. I think I was a little bit surprised by your message. You texted me and you said that if we concede early, we lose the game. And I was really curious, and I didn't want to be keep going back and forth during the game, but I was curious, why did you felt this way? We texted a little bit during the Real Madrid games as well, and you didn't feel quite like that. Why? What made you feel that if we concede early against PSG, we're going to lose? Because we were at home. Of course, we didn't have Thomas on the field, but what was it?
I kind of forgot I sent you that message. Yeah, I think, about an hour before the game, I sent you one message, and it was, the only way we lose this game is if we concede in the first 20 minutes, I think I said.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then 3 minutes and we concede. It's because the way that PSG set up, essentially, their ability to counterattack is one of the best in the world, right? They've got some incredibly fast players, and not having Partey on the pitch as well just meant that there was no real way of stopping that effectively, at source. So they kept getting through the midfield, or at least until kind of Merino started dropping a little deeper. And I just figured if they did score early, it kills the crowd, which it does, it did. It makes the players kind of second guess themselves, which is exactly what happened. So you kept seeing players sort of stranded between pressing and marking the player behind them. And, a coach would call that shadow marking, right? But that's not what was happening. They were just too scared to go to the ball and fully commit, because they knew as soon as they get passed around, then they're through, essentially. And that happened so many times in the first 20 minutes because we were just not set up correctly in midfield. So our attackers would press like they normally do, expecting that Rice and Partey, or in this case kind of Marino, would be pressing like they normally would, but that just didn't happen because Rice and Marino were all over the place. So yeah, I was really, really worried about an early goal, just for the confidence, the kind of added pressure, the crowd that they just killed, the atmosphere, and we never really recovered, honestly.
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised, but I guess looking back now, you were actually right. It was, as you mentioned, and I think it's been a lot of discussions. I think if you ask Dembele or whoever to try that shot like 10 more times, I don't know how many times he's gonna place it as well as he did. So yeah, and we did have a couple of chances, as you mentioned earlier. Now, I don't want to be, Captain Obvious, and probably we should have had like a game preview or something if I want to bring this up. But do you think Zinchenko would have made a bigger difference? He would have been better suited player to play the number 8 role than Marino, and play Marino up top. I mean, it would have been a switch, right? Partey couldn't play, so you bring in Zinchenko as the number 8 and Rice as the number 6, and then Marino stays up top. Do you think? I mean, Zinchenko is very, very technical player, right? He is really good. He played in midfield. He has a lot of Champions League experience, so it would have made sense. I didn't thought of it until I saw how our midfield was kind of playing, sort of. So what did you think? I mean, just let's go really quickly through this because it's all in the past, but what do you think of it?
I don't know about Zinchenko. I think whatever Arteta chose, he had to make a sacrifice somewhere.
Yeah.
And the smallest sacrifice he could make, in his eyes, was to drop Marino back and have a relatively strong midfield and lose out a bit of the kind of attacking threat. If you put Zinchenko in there to put Marino up top, sure, you get a bit more of the attack, but you lose so much in midfield. And the game was going to be won in the midfield, which kind of ultimately it was. So yeah. I think he made the right choice. I think we just didn't play it well enough for the first 20 minutes. I think Rice and Marino were just trying to work out what was happening, and before they even could, then they scored. So I think it was the right choice. I just think we got unlucky, honestly.
And, after the game, Arteta mentioned he saw something and he changed it after 20 minutes. I know there's been a lot of discussion about it. What do you think that was? Because he didn't say what it was.
I'm pretty sure it was just Marino's position. Essentially, we ended up with sort of two sort of anchors instead of the one, which then isolated Odegard and made Odegard useless, but it stopped them from countering. So I don't know. It was really tough.
he brought Marino a little bit back, right?
Yeah, Marino's a little bit deeper, and then they sort of had this kind of three-ish man midfield with Skelly when he moved up, and Rice and Marino, and then Odegaard was in front of them, and then the wingers were out wide, obviously. I don't know, like it was organised, but it just wasn't a good shape we ended up in. The Trossard ended up drifting over to the left all the time. Odegard was sort of nowhere in particular. Rice wasn't a threat whatsoever. Marino looked pretty decent, honestly, in at least sort of breaking up play and holding up the ball, but he couldn't really be effective going forward. I think Skelly was the only one who could really be effective going forward and, making those runs. Rice made a really good run at one point and put the ball through. So I don't know. It was a little bit messy. We still managed to make the chances out of some, it was those Rice and Miles Lewis Skelly chances that we're talking about. I just can't see us being as unlucky next week. Like, especially because that referee was absolutely useless as well.
Yeah.
It was awful. So I just think next week it has to go better. Like, I can't see how it can't go better. And if it does go better, then in theory we win by at least 2 goals.
Yeah, you're right. But moving a little bit further up the pitch, have you ever seen in your life a player that is more suited to the substitute role than Trossard? I mean, I can't wrap my hand around it. He's a really good player as a sub, but when he starts, you can count on the fingers on one hand the games he played well as a starter. He absolutely plays better as a substitute, and I can't remember if at Brighton he was a starter or a substitute. I can't know for sure because I didn't watch a lot of Brighton, but for me, I always feel uncomfortable when he's up top. You lose a little bit of height, obviously. So if Raya or someone else wants to lump it forward, there's a very, very high chance that you lose the ball. He's technically gifted. He has 2 good feet, right? The left and the right. He can shoot with both. He can dribble. He can get out of tight spaces, but he's still. I think last year he had some absolutely crazy stats as a substitute. I don't remember the number of goals or assists, but they were really high for a substitute player. So I don't remember the last time I saw someone so suited to the bench, and obviously coming on, right? I don't know if in every game, but at least in 80-90% of the games. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on Trossard, and that's why I even brought on the thought of Zinchenko as a number 8 and Marino up top, because I think Marino makes more sense. We saw him. He obviously is not a striker, but he plays really well the role. The link-up play when he's there is really good, and I don't know, Trossard starting and up top, it's really weird. It gives me weird vibes. And the fact that you mentioned the referee, I think the most, like, at this level in the semifinal of the Champions League, you're not allowed to do the type of mistake that the linesman did when Saka stole basically the ball from Nuno Mendes, right? And Nuno Mendes fell over and they flagged a free kick for PSG. It was absolutely disgraceful to see that at this level, right? You can't do that, because that would have been, almost like half, if not 3/4 of a goal if Saka goes one-on-one with Donnarumma. So yeah, hopefully next week we'll get better refereeing, and the whole team up and ready for war. But we have the Bournemouth game tomorrow. So how many players from the first 11 you don't want to see on the pitch tomorrow?
Okay, but the point I wanted to make is if you look at our bench from that PSG game, right?
Yep.
That bench doesn't deserve to be anywhere near a Champions League semi-final.
Yep.
So
right.
We just don't have the backup right now. Like if you say who do we want to see on the pitch against Bournemouth, like well none of them ideally, but then look at the bench was Neto and Setford, so two goalkeepers who I don't think have even 3 appearances for us between them this season. Ben White, fine, good player. Tierney, leaving. Zinchenko, probably leaving. Henry Francis, 0 appearances for Arsenal. Nwaneri, fine. Butler Odegard, I think has 1 appearance for us, maybe 10 minutes. Cabia, 0 appearances. Sterling, leaving and honestly useless. Like, if we start a game against Bournemouth with those players on the pitch, all of them, then we're going to lose. Like, it's a guaranteed loss. So, how much do we want to come second, I guess, is the question that you're really asking. And at this point, I don't really think it matters. Like, the only game that matters for the rest of this entire season, right now, assuming we win it at least, is Wednesday. Yep. I would put anyone out on is it tomorrow? I think like Gunnosaurus can play. I don't care. Like just don't let anyone get injured. That would be the priority for me.
So absolutely, I would take off Saka, Rice, Odegard. Give him a little bit. Send him, I don't know, on a boat, on a yacht, whatever it is, just to disconnect and reconnect. I don't know exactly, but Saliba, Timber, Miles Lewis-Kelly, you're right. Like more than half of the team shouldn't play against Bournemouth, and will probably lose tomorrow's game. How much does it impact the confidence moving forward to Wednesday? I mean, if you play the likes of Sterling and White and whoever else you play, you kind of assume that you might lose or at least draw. You don't want to have a consequence on the Wednesday game. I don't know how aware are the players, and they say, "Hey, listen, if we're changing the whole squad." Saka, right? He looks and he says, "Okay, we're not playing 8 of the first team players against Bournemouth. We're probably going to lose or draw, but." Is this going to affect the mood, the dressing room for the PSG game? I know Marino said that the team is absolutely looking forward to the PSG game, and we shouldn't make any mistake. It's going to be a difficult game, and I think Arsenal are very well equipped to win that game, but it's not going to be a piece of cake. It's not going to be easy. And coming to the PSG game, moving on a little bit from Bournemouth, maybe we'll come back. But what do you think would be more beneficial to Arsenal if PSG if they start like strong and are looking to score a goal and leave some spaces for Arsenal to counter, or to try to defend and take control a little bit of the ball and dominate possession and so on? Like I was thinking, that the first battle, I think Arteta kind of lost a little bit against Luis Enrique. Maybe he didn't have like Partey, but the squad shouldn't be built on one player, right? Obviously, he was badly missed, but I don't want to lose another tactical battle against Luis Enrique, right? I want Arteta to be smart in the second leg, and obviously I want to win at least 2-3-0. But as you said, PSG are a really good team, and they're really good on counter-attacking. So it's going to be a really tough game.
Yeah, so on to the question of how they start. I mean, it's interesting because obviously, look at the game before with Real Madrid. We win 3-0 in the first leg, and obviously Real Madrid have to attack from minute one, which they did.
Yeah.
Whereas a 1-0 win, especially when away goals don't matter double as they used to, isn't really much to stand on, right? Like if we go and score in the first 3 minutes, then it's 0-0 again. I would expect them to continue and just kind of try and do what they did against us the first time, because we do have a bit of a history of conceding stupid early goals, right? And I would expect them to try and score early again. If they do come in with that approach, I think with Partey on the pitch, it will make a massive difference. I think, your point about Partey being, building the team around him. I mean, think about it. Like if we consider our injuries this season, if we had Havertz available, if we had Jorginho available, anyone like that's been injured, if Calafiori even was available, then the whole team looks different. If Calafiori is available, then we maybe put Miles Lewis-Skelly in the middle, then we've got our Partey replacement. Jorginho is available, we've got our Partey replacement. That's really been the difference this season. We just haven't had the backups available because either they've been injured or we just don't have anyone, which is kind of why I pointed to the bench, where that bench is a disaster, honestly. So it will be a little bit better on Wednesday, I hope. And yeah, so with Partey on the pitch, I think if they do come out and attack early, then we'll have a much better chance of breaking those attacks down and countering ourselves, which is probably the preference. If they sit back, then I think we will struggle to break them down. So I would actually genuinely rather they attacked us.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think if they, we shouldn't be that desperate because it's just 1-0, right? It's just one goal. So we shouldn't be desperate to score. And obviously, as early as you score, you kind of silence a little bit the crowd, and you saw how it went the first leg. So obviously you have to have a balance, but in the same time you need to think and be a little bit cautious and think it's just one goal. We can score one goal from a free kick, from a corner, from a counter attack or whatever it is. So we should be a little bit aware. I'm a little bit frustrated of the fact that they double up or even triple up on Saka in the first leg, and I think they're gonna try the same tactic in the return leg. So we need to have something to bypass that, not necessarily Saka, but another plan, to maybe free him or use someone else, because switching places, Saka with Martinelli or whatever during game time, it didn't happen. I don't think it's going to happen in the return leg against PSG. You did mention the bench, right? And if obviously Partey is going to come back and we're going to have Marino up top, so Trossard and Nwaneri are going to be like the most kind of attacking players that we have available on that bench. Why do you think it's been such a drop-off in playing Nwaneri, especially in the Champions League? I mean, obviously when Saka was injured and we had all those attacking injuries, Nwaneri was played a lot, but then it's a huge discrepancy, right? He didn't play for a lot of games in the Champions League and so on, but I don't know, why do you think that is? Because we kind of need him a little bit, right? I mean, you only have Trossard as your attacking option on the bench, and you need someone, at least someone else, right? Sterling, as you said, is useless. You can't put your faith in Sterling after the season that he had, and Nwaneri can actually make something happen. So for me, it's a little bit weird.
I think it's that point that we spoke about before about control. So it's all well and good playing Nwaneri against like a Southampton or even a West Ham, and he'll lose the ball every so often, but we'll probably mop it up. Whereas you lose the ball against Paris Saint-Germain, there's like a chance they score, especially without Partey on the pitch. So I think it's that. I'm kind of bored of talking about Thomas Partey at this point, but I think it's a knock-on effect from not having Thomas Partey on the pitch. And that even goes to your previous point about Saka being like trebled up on, right? I think because Partey wasn't on the pitch, Timber and other players didn't go forward as freely as they might usually because they didn't have that player, that enforcer there that they knew would cover them. So 3 players being on Saka all the time, well, yeah, great, because where's he going to go? He has to go backwards, and the only option backwards is Timber. Timber's not going to overlap because of what happened after 3 minutes, where they basically just played it around us and suddenly they scored. So this seems like a minor thing, swapping a midfielder for another midfielder, but it has this massive knock-on effect, and it means that you can't put someone like Nwaneri on the pitch or a Sterling because the mistakes that are in them, or their inability to hold onto the ball in some positions suddenly gets punished like 10 times harder than it usually would. So you just can't take that risk, and I'm pretty sure that's why Arteta waited until the 86th minute or something to actually make a sub. It was in the 80th something minute he made his first sub, but it's just like you can't do it. Like who else are you going to bring on? Ben White only came on for Timber because Timber had a slight injury. I don't think that substitution was even going to happen. And then did Nwaneri come on? I forget, but I feel like someone else came on right at the end. And yeah, but you can't take these risks. Like, we've got to have players on the pitch who can keep hold of the ball. Otherwise, we're dead. I think, was it Rice that said, if we lose the ball, we'll be killed in the team talk for the game. If someone got it on camera, that's exactly it. You lose the ball against a team like PSG, and yeah, you got big problems because almost every single one of their players is faster than ours.
Yeah, and Nwaneri came on for Odegard, and he played on the right, and Saka moved in the center. So what did you thought of that?
I mean, it felt a little bit desperate, but I guess we were at that point, so fine. Do
you think he'll try it again?
I think if Partey's on the pitch, then there's more chance that if, let's say it's still the 1-0 scoreline, or 0-0 on Wednesday, then yeah, we'll probably be more inclined to try that, and probably earlier. But then you've got Trossard on the bench, so do you just bring Trossard on instead? Yeah. Who's more of a goal threat? Like, I would probably argue Trossard's more of a goal threat in this specific game because he's just not going to have any space. Nwaneri thrives when he gets a little bit of space, and he can kind of burst through and score. But like, Trossard's going to work much better in really tight areas, which is what we're likely to see. So I don't think it's it's not particularly effective necessarily against a team like PSG. So yeah, I would prefer, and I would expect to see Trossard come on well in advance of Nwaneri. Yeah,
probably. I was thinking that maybe if you bring in Nwaneri and you move Saka more towards the middle, you can free Saka up a little bit from the strangle of being double up and triple up on. Obviously Odegaard had a really bad game against PSG at home. He wasn't that bright against Real Madrid as well, but not sure. I think everyone, including Arteta, including Odegaard. I think they're expecting him to have that click, that moment of magic, of an incredible pass or something. He's obviously relentless. He runs a lot. He presses a lot, but in the same time, we're looking for more from him. And I I still look at him and I'm waiting, and come on, you can do something, and not something that is extremely complicated or something that the football world has never seen. Something smart, something, creative. And I think he has that in him. Maybe he keeps it for the final. Who knows? By the way, who do you think is going to be in the final? Did you watch Barcelona against Inter?
Yeah, I watched it. It didn't go how I expected at all. I kind of expected after the early Inter goal that they kind of shut up shop and that would be that. But yeah, 3-3 was surprising.
It was a spectacle.
I would much rather get Barcelona in the final, honestly. I think we'd struggle a little more against Inter. But you don't really want to be playing either of them, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I do kind of think Inter might clinch it, honestly, next week. I think Inter probably win.
Yeah, I think as well as my thought as well, watching the game. And I would love to see Yamal against Miles Kelly, but in the same time, I think Inter at home will have a little bit too much for Barca, at least from what they showed in the first leg. Other than that, Joe, there's absolutely nothing going on. There's no other games in the league or in Europe besides the Champions League. There's nothing interesting to watch on television. So I think we'll leave it as is. I'm really, really curious to see what team he chooses for tomorrow's game against Bournemouth. For me, I hate to say this. I want Arsenal to win all the games, but you can throw the Bournemouth game on the window off the window. I don't care. It's just win, lose, draw. It doesn't matter. Just keep all the players, injury free and ready for Wednesday. And I think Arteta is smart enough and experienced enough to do just that. I do think we'll have a couple of starters maybe on the bench, to give them like a 15, 20, 25 minutes run, but just for fitness and game time purposes, I don't think he'll risk any of the stars for the game against Bournemouth. And it's not that tight. I mean, we can afford to lose the Bournemouth game or draw it, and then we can see after the PSG game where we're standing.
Yeah, I mean, if we see any of Saka, Martinelli, Marino, Rice, and maybe one of Saliba or Kiwior on the pitch, and definitely not Raya, I'd be very upset, honestly. I think you have to put some players on the pitch. We don't really have anyone else, but if we saw Timber, White, Tierney, and Zinchenko as the back four, that wouldn't really surprise me.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Well, we'll see how it goes. Thanks so much, Joe, for joining in. I still hope I hope you still have some sun left, and you can enjoy that, get some vitamin D, and we'll see. Maybe we'll have another episode after the win at PSG, right?
Absolutely. The 3-0 win. Can't wait.
Yep.
And a quick shout out to the Arsenal women for getting the Champions League final. Well done to them.
That was incredible, and thanks for bringing that up. incredible, and I hope it's an inspiration for the men's team as well. Congrats, and we'll talk to you after the PSG game. Thanks so much for joining in. Thank you guys for tuning in and listening. I wish you an excellent and sunny weekend. All the best. Bye-bye, Joe.
Bye.